to Block Tornado. How are you? And today we're going to talk about people's behavior during the interviews, and these are the alien abductees I'm talking about, and how sometimes they just don't connect when they've been interviewed. Connect, I mean, as in on an emotional level, on a spiritual level. And sometimes we're looking for that in their interviews because we're trying to, get to the truth ourselves. And I see very little of that during these interviews, and it's probably what the problem is half the time, trying to get something out of the story that is so unusual as it is already. And most of the time it's just what's on, on a paper. And getting some kind of emotion or excitement out of these people is just pretty much non-existent. That's very true with Bob Lazar, for instance. His interviews are exactly the same as they were 30 years ago, until now are pretty much the same thing. I mean, the man is not really showing any emotions during his interviews. It's all pen and paper, and maybe because he's a scientist, and maybe that's just how they view things. But there should be some kind of excitement, because we just don't see such things in our lives every day. And it should be natural, and it should be in our human nature to get excited, to talk about the situation. And the more I watch this interviews with Travis Walton or Barney and Betty Hill, such emotions are not really present there. They don't happen often. But, for Betty Hill, for instance, what I did like is that, kind of caught my attention more than anything when she was talking about how she is waving to these aliens, the UFOs, and inviting them to come over to, she wants to see them in person. She's inviting them. She's waving her hand, telling her to come down, and that was very important to kind of connect with us on a spiritual level, so we kind of can assume that perhaps she's telling us truth. For sure something happened, but again, as I explained before, just like in a movie sets, if you rehearse something many times over, eventually you're going to get it right. So this kind of interviews could actually be achieved in such a way that, they do it in the movies. So you constantly practice until you get it right. And that's exactly one of the things that could be if hoax is involved here, if they're trying to fake it. All these interviewers or all the hypnotists that I was part of this could all be the same people. They know each other, and they just rehearsed it to make it look right, just like they do in the movies. So that's one possibility. But that's why it's so important when she's waving and she's saying that those aliens, to tell them to come closer. Now, it could also be looked at in a different way. It's almost like as if, you're trying to con somebody or trying to fool somebody by showing that you have some emotions or what happened. Say, hey, hello, come here, to make the other person think that the story is authentic. But you could look at it in that sort of angle, from that angle, but again, you could also look at it from different angle, so the stories are always like split in the middle, and that's why alien stories, or this whole alien scene is such a gray area to get into. It's hard to tell the truth or not. And that's the problem with this all kinds of alien abductee story. And exactly the same with Travis Walton. He, for instance, I don't know, he was interviewed on the Hannibal show, and but the lack of emotions that are present in there, that you can actually read this person on some sort of spiritual level if you can't understand it verbally what he's saying. It's very difficult to read any emotions. Maybe because it happened many years ago, I can understand that, but sometimes when you tell a story, and I have stories to tell, and I believe me, they're not nearly as what happened to Travis Walton or Betty Hill or Bob Lazar. But when I tell them over and over again, I do tell them with excitement because I live in it, because I remember what happened. But for them, something like that to happen to them, that only happens, to certain people once in a blue moon, you should be a little bit more excited than that. That's what's lacking in a lot of these interviews with alien abductees. And that's especially true with Bob Lazar. His story, again, is like the same as it was 30 years ago. The man doesn't show any emotions in his interviews. I mean, I would like to believe what he's saying, but again, it sounds a lot sounds a lot like pen and paper and no actual feelings involved in what has happened. I mean, it's one thing that, you go inside a brand new car or Ferrari or whatnot, but going inside the actual UFO, to me, there's two different kinds of excitement there, and I'm sure you would talk about it at least at some point if you had a Ferrari, but heck, being inside a UFO, it's a totally different ball game here. So that's what's lacking. And again, it could have been his personality because he's a scientist and he's not a musician, so people have different personalities. He expresses himself in a different way, except more through technical aspects of things. He's very knowledgeable of what has happened while he was on board of this UFO from scientific perspective. But it's one thing I try to look for in his interviews, with Joe Rogan, some kind of genuine excitement of this situation. I mean, you must have some excitement in your life about anything, not just UFOs. But particularly UFOs, you should have some extra excitement, if you catch my drift. There should be something that you would jump out of your seat. And again, it's not a story that you can tell. That will happen to you every day, or every year. It's something that will happen probably once in your lifetime, and that's the thing that I'm seeing that's lacking in many of these abduction stories. And again, so it could be that they actually think that perhaps they were in some sort of sleep paralysis, and they don't realize that, even though they say they might have been fully conscious, like Travis Walton or Betty Hill. They both say that they were, or at least Betty Hill talks about her being fully conscious, not Barney Hill, because he was bigger than them and he could have been a threat, and that's why he was in sleep paralysis. But Walton seemed to be also awake of what happened, and actually reaching for some object on the decks. He grabbed it nearby to actually try to hit one of the aliens with it, and he wasn't put into sleep paralysis for some reason, which to me he should have been. That is a question: why wasn't he put in sleep paralysis? But and obviously aliens are using sleep paralysis for one reason, but to protect themselves from what could happen, right? Because person will freak out. And as you know, if you have witnessed or listened to the audio recording of Barney being under hypnosis, you'll understand what I mean, because pretty much he's freaking out, he's screaming, because once we're awake inside a reality, our conscious mind operates on a normal level, but is not really connected to the subconscious mind. And if you turn this thing upside down and put the person in hypnosis, and now the conscious mind is shut off, and now they're thinking with their subconscious mind, they're drawing the memory from subconscious mind, you'll see what really happened, and then you'll understand that that the person was actually some serious trauma when this whole thing occurred. And that's why they appear completely normal, not afraid of anything, because the subconscious mind is not connected. You can only think with one mind at a time. So when the conscious mind is on, the subconscious mind is shut off. And then when you're talking to him about the alien experience they had, they will show no signs of fear, because they're in conscious mind and subconscious is shut off. So and that's what really could happen with his abduction stories. Again, with Walton, like I said, I'm not sure if he thought he was fully conscious, because when he's telling the story, see, this is the problem here. When he's telling the story, he seemed to be quite relaxed, and as you know, what happens is when they put the person under subconscious, they will definitely freak out. I mean, it's expectable, it's reasonable for that to happen, but when Travis Walton talks about his story, he seemed to be very relaxed, and he claimed that he was fully conscious. See, he thinks he was fully conscious, but maybe he was only 60-70% conscious, okay? Because he doesn't seem to be freaking out about this, and which is surprising to me, because even his friends, they were nearby him, they're all freak out about it, and he just seemed to be quite relaxed about it. Not just that, but he was tried to fight them, and he does show that talks about being afraid of things, but you know what? He doesn't seem to show that through his interview, if you bring such memories back, revive such memories, even if you had a sad experience or some kind of trauma that happened to you, you will show that in your interview. You will show some kind of emotions, but in his case, he's not showing much. So perhaps he just wasn't fully conscious, which he claims he was. And again, with the only thing I can say about Betty Hill is, she seemed to be very excited about when she saw the aliens in the sky, the UFO in the sky. She was actually telling them, waving her hand and inviting them to come and see her. So, she was excited about that. But would you really be like that is the question, if you see something unusual like that? Not just that she saw the UFO, but once they take her in, supposedly, they're actually talking to her. And that is a question that, the purpose of this video, to understand why are people not showing much of their emotions when they're talking. And again, with Bob Lazar, when it comes to Bob Lazar now, he doesn't talk about emotions. Again, very emotional, no emotions involved. And again, regardless if he's a scientist, to have a opportunity, a privilege to go inside a UFO, you would show some more excitement rather than just describe what happened while you were there. The emotions are completely not present, and that's the problem with Bob Lazar's story, which we try to connect with him. If there's any connection that we can connect to him, that he's telling us truth, that we can kind of evaluate him and judge him, it's through his emotions, through his feelings, like musicians. When it comes to musicians, they express themselves through feelings, and we feel what they feel. But with Bob Lazar's story, again, is the same thing. What he was, the same thing. He's describing story very, an emotional way, just like his now. It's the same thing that happened, the same story, even after so many years. And that's the thing about a problem with this kind of UFO world. And obviously we cannot discredit anything like that, because the opportunity of such is right there on the table for us. It could have been sometimes the truth lies in a plain sight, right in front of us, and such people, which Bob Lazar or Travis and Betty, they're all important people, to say the least. They should actually be someone should, I don't know, Betty Hill's not alive anymore, but I believe Travis and Bob Lazar are, and there are many other abductees that are part of what happened to them in the same situation. I mean, they should really put these people together. Somebody should, and let them talk. Let them all talk, and maybe they can sort of relate to their stories, and they have something they can share in common, some details rather than just being inside the UFOs, but some details, to make the awareness, that, or they should do that themselves, because to make us aware, to introduce us to this alien possibility of existence in a nice, slow way, but none of them are doing that for some reason, But Bob Lazar does talk about what this could mean, and we should not focus on whether the story of his is true or not. We should focus more on an existence of aliens. Where do they come from? Where do these spaceships, what do the factories look like? What do the city looks like where these UFOs that he talks about came from? So it's not just a UFO. This UFO actually belongs to somebody, to whoever made it. And, we can only imagine what those, what we see in sci-fi movies is actually a reality of some sort. But we're all looking for this truth. And the only thing I can say, I'm a witness of orb phenomena. I've seen orbs with my own eyes. I know what happened. There's a link below if you want to see. I'm going to leave it again, like I always do in every video. It's not my video. It's someone else's. But if you want to read about my story, it's on blogtornado.com, in UFO section, in UFO and orb phenomena article. And you can read more about it, what happened to me. So you can relate these two stories. Again, what you see in the footage is a little bit more, because it seems to me there's a message. You want to look into that and try to decode it yourself, especially when the big orbs coming down from the sky. To me, that is some kind of message at the end of the footage. But some things that you can look for when you watch the YouTube videos and try to figure out whether they're real or not. With orbs, they're not going to be faked as much as actual UFOs, like flying saucers, people trying to fake that kind of thing all the time, but orbs are not being faked so much. So most of them are real, but what you need to look for is basically for color orange, because they're using color orange a lot, from white to orange, and you won't see any blue, green, or red, or yellow. But that's sort of a trademark. And also they fly in straight formations. They don't make any noise. They like to multiply. If you see that in a footage, like you will see in Western Massachusetts, that's the reason, you can compare to my stories. I don't know this person. This happened in a different time zone, different part of the world, but yet there's similarities to this. And you can hear the girl screaming about it's orange, it's orange, it's orange, and it's gonna get on your nerves, so caution. But that's footage from Western Massachusetts. To me, what happened more, there was 3 lights, more like what happened in Phoenix, Arizona, the Phoenix lights, and I believe there was 3 at the beginning. And for some reason, people talk about this being kind of common thing. There's 3 lights, 3 orbs, so I don't know what's going on there. So, but that's what I saw. And again, it ties even more further. If you watch my videos, recently I just made the video with UFO Orb and David Icke. You want to check that video and understand what the heck is going on here, because in my part of where I've seen these orbs, okay, maybe 5 kilometers or so, there's a shrine, and there's a Jesus on a cross, and there's candles, and then suddenly there's Illuminati symbol right above it. There's what the hell? What's going on here? And again, I believe there's some connection to U.S. government here, that Illuminati symbol actually represents orbs, because it talks about Illuminati, right? Illuminating light. Illuminati means illuminating, and orbs are illuminating. And the pyramid is detached. It's hovering in the air. If you look at on a Illuminati symbol on one American dollar bill, you see it's hovering in the air. So the orbs. And the all-seeing eye watching us from the sky, just like the orbs. I think they're watching us all the time. And the all-seeing eye, to me, is the orbs, because definitely there's some intelligence behind this phenomena, because the way I can see it in their flight patterns. And not just that, but I talk about it. This guy made a footage in England with a VHS camera, and he's taping crop circles being made in real time. And it wasn't some flying saucer, silver flying saucers flying around there. It were just simply orbs of light. And this happened a long time ago. So I have a reason to believe that the footage is real. And also ILM from Industrial Light and Magic behind Star Wars. They also agree that footage is actually real. So, and those crop circles were being made while he's taping that with orbs flying around. And they're actually, the crop is actually being, disappearing and creating some kind of patterns. And I have reason to believe that footage is authentic. But again, I talk about this in my UFO Orb and David Icke video that I just made, and you might want to listen to this, because there's something unusual going on here that perhaps U.S. government is not telling us about. And I'll tell you why. Because perhaps U.S. government cannot tell us about it, because they could have been under some control. And also David Icke talks about that a lot in his conspiracy theories regarding reptilians, okay, that they're controlling our society. So if they're controlling the humanity or society, then they're definitely controlling the government, okay? And Bob Lazar talks about that. He talks about some kind of government or whatnot that the actual government doesn't have power or control over. That's why they were able to erase all his records at Los Alamos, and whoever these people are have control over everything. So who are they? And David Icke talks about this, about the Illuminati symbol on one American dollar bill. Again, let me explain the situation. It's very simple. It's our money, it's our currency, it's made out of paper, it's made out of green ink. Sure, you can have all that they're saying to us, but you're going to have our stamp on our symbol on that currency, on one American dollar bill, which is a very common amount, $1. And, it's Illuminati symbol, and it just looks really strange. And it does tie into some pyramids as well that I'll talk about next. There's few clues that there is a connection with pyramids. I know there's a pyramid there, but again, like, my theory of this is the orbs, and the orbs are responsible as far as I'm concerned, because I've seen them with my own eyes, and you can check it down below in my in this Western Massachusetts video, and and it's just unusual. Okay, if you have something to comment and you think it's unusual as well, I think I would encourage you to say so, because we need to spread this awareness. Even NASA supposedly knows about this. They're saying they don't know what it is. They've seen this many times over the years. And what are they? Are we part of some sort of experiment here? Or what is this all seeing eye on one American dollar bill mean? Who is watching us, right? And the only thing I can relate to, Illuminati, glowing light, hovering in the air, the top part of the pyramid. I believe it's got to do with orbs, more than what David Icke talks about. David Icke thinks it's actually reptilians, but he's not really connecting the symbol. And the orbs are, maybe just because I'm a witness, and if he's not, see, therefore, it's two different things. Maybe he doesn't believe it as much as I do. He relates, but there's definitely something behind our government that, and it's all because of that very symbol on one American dollar bill. And this strange lights flying in the sky, so he connect the dots. It's very simple. So, his theory of David Icke, like I said in a previous video with David Icke, I talk about pretty much what orbs could mean, and he's definitely on some right track there, because there is something behind the government, whether it's reptilians or aliens or grays, who knows. So I just like to thank you for staying all the way until now. I would definitely thank you. it tells me you didn't fall off the tracks and you're following the story and you're as serious as I am, and you really want to get down to the truth because perhaps UFOs interest you, and maybe something like that could actually happen to you, and that's why you're here. And in that case, I would suggest that you comment and share your story with us so we know what to bring more awareness to this orb phenomena or UFO phenomena or whatnot. And that's pretty much all that I want to say today. And again, thank you for staying all the way here. Appreciate it. And if you like, you could subscribe here on the bottom right or give it a thumbs up. That'll be much appreciated. Or if you want to get my videos now, I make videos every day, every second day, every third day, at least lately just every day, every second day. So if you want to be getting your latest from me, all you have to do is hit that notification button and you're on your way, okay? Doesn't cost much if you don't like to watch what I'm talking about. And again, it's, Block Tornado is all about getting to the truth. It's not about entertainment, okay? So it might not be the channel you're looking for, but if you like the truth and you're here because of that and you're looking for some extra information, then you come to the right place. And I would suggest you please come back and comment so we can discuss more about this cool phenomena. So I appreciate it and thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next time. Cheers. Peace.